Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. Well, there's a heightened level of security at Windsor border crossings after a fatal explosion at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara. We have local reaction tonight, plus a magic mushroom shop that's been raided by police twice is still open. We break down how that's possible, and a duo of professors at the University of Windsor are adding some diversity to anatomy images. They're hoping to change the status quo of illustrations seen in science and medicine textbooks. 3 of 4 border crossings between Canada and the U.S. have reopened in the Niagara Falls area. A deadly vehicle explosion on the U.S. side had closed the crossings earlier today. Witnesses say a vehicle was traveling at a high rate of speed toward Canada. It appears to have slammed into a barrier or building at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls, New York. 2 people in the vehicle are reported to have died. The Rainbow Bridge will remain closed as the investigation continues. Extra security is also in place at the airport in nearby Buffalo. The investigation is ongoing, and law enforcement on both sides of the border are calling the situation very fluid. Now, for an update on how the situation is impacting our local border crossings, the CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa joins us live outside of the Windsor-Detroit tunnel. Jen, you've been making calls since the news broke. What do we know?
So we're hearing that at the border crossings here, they are on high alert. The CEO of the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel Corporation says that the tunnel is operating under heightened security measures. I've been here for a little bit now, and I haven't seen any sort of additional security vehicles or personnel, but they do say that all protocols that need to be followed in a situation like this have been. They do say that they expect there will be delays for people that are traveling between Windsor and Detroit just because of what's happened on the American side of the Rainbow Bridge there in Niagara Falls, New York. In a statement, the Ambassador Bridge says that they're in communication with the Canada Border Services Agency as well as the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. It says that the Ambassador Bridge is still open and traffic is moving. We asked the CBSA about whether they would be having any additional staff come to border crossings in Windsor and Sarnia, just in case there's an influx of people choosing to cross over here. They didn't answer that question, but they did say in an emailed statement that they are tracking the evolving situation and that FBI are investigating. The Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority, which is building the Gordie Howe International Bridge, did say that they always have security on the construction sites, but because of the situation, they have increased security personnel there. Construction is still ongoing as planned.
Jen, what are we hearing from officials in Windsor, Essex tonight?
Yeah, so we're getting politicians that are reacting to this news on social media. Brian Massey, he is the Windsor West MP. He posted on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, and part of that reads, "Our thoughts are with the responders and border officers carrying out their duties as they do every day at our border crossings. As traffic is rerouted from the closed Niagara regional crossings to those in Sarnia and Windsor, we ask for everyone's patience and that additional supports are provided from both the provincial and the federal governments for the border crossings and local municipalities." Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkins, as well as Windsor-Tecumseh MP Eric Kuzmaricek, also posted on social media saying that they're following this situation closely. In an emailed statement, we also heard from the Ontario Provincial Police. Now, they said that they're not engaged in the Niagara region response, but they do want people to know that there is no known threat to public safety at this time. Around 4 o'clock today, CBC News did cross the border into Michigan from the Ambassador Bridge, and there didn't appear to be any additional security measures that were in place. What we did hear from a border agent was that they are on high alert and that today is not an easy day. Meg.
Well, thanks so much for that, Jen. That's a CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reporting live. It's been raided at least twice by Windsor police, but the Fun Guys Magic Mushroom Dispensary is still operating at its location downtown. The CBC's TJ Deere takes a look at how that's possible.
Illegal magic mushroom dispensaries like this one in Windsor have been popping up across Canada. A sociology professor says the rapid increase can be compared to cannabis shops before legalization in 2018.
They're not going out of their way to remain hidden, and that is eliciting a response from the authorities. It wouldn't surprise me that we might see legal action as a result of challenges to Canada's drug laws that make the sale of mushrooms prohibited.
Despite 2 raids in the summer by Windsor police, this shop is still open and operating downtown. A spokesperson for the company, who was only willing to provide an alias, says they expect these raids and they're part of their fight to legalize magic mushrooms.
We battle through adversity. When you believe in something very strongly, there's almost no barriers to achieve what you set out to do.
Windsor police has not responded to multiple interview requests from CBC News. Fun Guys has stores across southern Ontario and even one in Montreal. Local police forces have raided the shops in some of those cities. With the exception of the St. Thomas dispensary, which has temporarily closed, the raided stores resumed operations quickly afterwards. This has drawn the frustration of Windsor's downtown councillor.
I'm not against businesses. I'm not against people selling stuff. But what I am against is illegal businesses. And if you're operating illegally in the city of Windsor, you shouldn't be able to. Things got to be approved by Health Canada. Once they are, I'm game. I'm down. Do it. But they're not. So you can't put the cart before the horse.
Waters says acquiring an operating license isn't practical because it takes too long for the federal government to catch up to medical research, citing the long time it took before Ottawa legalized cannabis. He also says the Fun Guys locations operate in a similar framework to the formerly illegal cannabis dispensaries. But when it comes to enforcement, a lawyer says local police can only do so much.
The police have limited resources. They have other important priorities, the more important priorities. So, the likelihood of being shut down and charged isn't necessarily that great.
Both Oscapella and Hathaway say that because fewer Canadians use magic mushrooms compared to cannabis, there isn't the same push to legalize magic mushrooms as there was for cannabis. TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
A flag-raising ceremony at City Hall today marked the 80th anniversary of Lebanese independence. An important message to send, organizers say, given the numerous issues the country is facing politically and economically.
It's very important for us. We've gone through turmoil over and over, and we're going through a crisis right now, financial crisis, economic crisis. We got the war that's going on south of us. It's very important that we stand up and celebrate these occasions, because Lebanon is a place where the people want peace, they want to move forward, they want just our identity, like I said earlier, our cultural, the religious, everything that we do is unique. Lebanon is unique in the Middle East because it has so many different religions and so many different traditions and cultures that try to strive and be successful.
A program to help recover from addictions on the University of Windsor campus has been awarded for its efforts. The program was launched 3.5 years ago and helps bridge academic and sober life. It's the first student recovery program in Ontario and the second in Canada. They recently received a $10,000 award. Windsor Morning's Amy Dodge spoke with a coordinator and faculty member of the program who have both been in recovery about the benefits of the program and what they might do with the money.
I wanted to do anything social, basically, with my classmates or peers. I had to go into the environment knowing that alcohol was going to be there, and how am I going to say no and not, be weird about it. And I was fine at that point going to those places, but in terms of like whether or not I was going to drink, but there was always just like this feeling of like being apart, right? Being different. And so knowing that I've helped create that space on campus, I just love seeing that the program has not just been established, but has grown in all the ways that it has.
I think one of the biggest things as far as expansion of Lancers Recover is being able to have space would be one of the top priorities. Having a drop-in space where students at any time throughout the week can come and know that the people in that room or that area understand what they're going through.
There's a push to get the pictures used in medical books to better reflect our actual population. Right now, the images in most anatomy books are often of fit white men. Dave Andrews teaches anatomy at the University of Windsor and says that needs to change. He's part of a project to do just that. When it's complete, there will be a catalog of diverse images open for public use.
Students, regardless of what program they're in, whether it's medicine, whether it's kinesiology, whether it's nursing, they need to see themselves in the material that they learn. And that wasn't really the case. And when I show a more diverse image in class without saying anything and without giving them a prompt, there's an immediate response. So that tells me that it's needed. We have images that showcase, of course, different body compositions, different age groups, different races, skin tones. But we also illustrate diversity with things like tattoos and piercings and amputations. We also are including prostheses, trying to be as inclusive of the diversity that we see in our normal environment every day.
Ships in Wheatley Harbor are bottoming out due to shallow water. Those who enter and exit say it's a safety issue that needs to be addressed. The CBC's Jacob Barker has that story.
This harbor, your knees shake when you come in.
Each time Bobby Cabral heads out from Wheatley Harbor, he has a message for his crew.
This is what I gotta tell my guys every morning. Brace yourself, because we're gonna hit bottom.
Sand has accumulated in the waters below. When the ship hits it, he loses control.
So right now the captain of this vessel is actually giving it everything he's got. To try and get through the sandbar here, it's not enough. The ship isn't moving. It's something that crews on this ship have to deal with almost every time they come in and out of this harbor. That's just like full throttle.
That's full throttle. You ain't got no more. Now imagine 5-foot waves coming at you and you can't move. You have no control of your vessel. You're in the mercy of Mother Nature.
Right now, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans is dredging off the shore, but Cabral and others say it's needed from a barge and further out. They say a more permanent solution is needed since sand shifts rapidly depending on the weather.
You're gonna lose lives, you're gonna lose your boat, you're gonna have fuel, oil, all in our freshwater system, which is not nice. It's not right, because they don't want to spend the money and fix the problem properly. They want to put Band-Aids on something that needs stitches.
Fisher John Calzarano moved his commercial fishing boat from Wheatley to Kingsville because of safety concerns. He says he's at danger of hitting a wall, and if he did, it could be an environmental disaster.
Bigger boat, they have a bigger fuel. I believe it's one of the biggest to carry fuel, which is about 12,000 liters. It will be a mess over here, completely a mess.
It would spill.
It will spill. It will spill all over the place.
And for one business operating in the harbor, the issue also affects their bottom line.
It's costing us money. Obviously, we have brand new boats that have deep draft, and when they go out, they hit the sandbar, it takes all the paint off the keel and the hull. And yeah, we have to do repairs because we can't deliver a new boat to somebody with damage on it. So it's an ongoing battle. You know, what can I say? You're moving sand, it's coming back. You're moving sand, it's coming back. But there has to be an answer.
DFO says a 2022 study showed that land-based dredging is the best solution, with some marine-based dredging when necessary. But any changes to the harbor structure isn't cost-effective, and some dredging would still be required. Cabral says a meeting with DFO is in the works, but there's no date set.
What's more important, money or an environmental disaster here? Or losing people's lives here?
Jacob Barker, CBC News, Wheatley.
In August, we told you about a Montreal man who was running the migration path of a monarch butterfly. That's about 4,500 kilometers. Well, last night he crossed back into Windsor on his way home, and we caught up with him to hear about his journey.
My run, it's finished. I'm really happy to say that I succeeded. So 4,500 kilometers from Montreal to central Mexico in a region called Michoacán. I was following the migration path of the monarch butterfly. So I left on July 29th and I arrived on November 1st as planned, and healthy and happy. So I'm really happy about that.
He's been running for the last 10 years and spent the last year preparing for this very specific journey. He called it the Ultra Trail Monarch Run, and he did it to raise awareness about the dangers monarch butterflies are facing. He says there's been about a 75% drop in their population over the last few years and wants to see that change. Sitting at about 4 degrees right now, and it's going to get a lot colder towards the end of the week. We have your full weather forecast coming up after the break. 2 of Canada's astronauts have been given new assignments. The details were announced at the Canadian Space Agency today.
I am happy to announce that Josh Kutrick will be the 4th Canadian astronaut to embark on the extended mission to the ISIS space station, scheduled to launch aboard the CST-100 Starliner in early 2025 for a mission of 6 months. And another of our CSA astronauts, Jenny Gibbons, has been assigned as the backup for Jeremy on Artemis 2. Jenny, big round of applause. Woo!
The Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry made the announcement at CSA headquarters in Montreal. Joshua Kutrick heads into orbit as part of the International Space Station, marked their 25th anniversary. Gibbons will replace Canadian astronaut Jeremy Henson if he is unable to take part in the Artemis 2 mission, which is scheduled to fly around the moon as early as this time next year. Colette, I think I know the answer here, but if someone asks you if you wanted to go to space, would you take that opportunity?
You know, Meg, my answer is different now than what it would have been when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I was fascinated with the first trip to the moon and Buzz Aldrin, and I used to memorize all that stuff, and I wanted to do that. And I love the images, too, when you look back at Earth, you know, the pictures of Earth from space. But, Meg, now I just would be afraid. Like, isn't that terrible? As I've gotten older, I have enough joy and excitement just in my life.
I agree, Colette. I have zero desire to do that. I like my boots on the ground, and there are so many places on this planet to explore that I'm good with doing that.
Yeah, we'll leave it to others. That's fine. And clearly there are others very talented and smart folks in line, ready to do that. So that's awesome for them. And well, for us, what are we going to be dealing with? Let's just talk about our weather for now, and I'll deal with that. And the cold air that's going to be kind of pushing in here. Now, not really tomorrow. We'll still have temperatures quite seasonal or even a little bit above. But as we look forward, you see some of that colder air from way to the north. It certainly expands over the prairies, but it's going to start shifting into the lower Great Lakes, too, as we go into Friday. Yeah, we're still in the greens, but it's this much darker green and not the more moderate tones in terms of our temperature contours. Still in place for Saturday into Sunday, and in fact going to double down as we get to the end of the weekend and the beginning of next week as that core comes into the eastern prairies. So that's the pattern that's really coming up for us, that we'll be dealing with temperatures below seasonal. But in the short term, not there. We're currently at 4 degrees, Chatham-Kent at 3, Goderich coming in at 5. It was 9 degrees today in St. Catharines, and they've been holding on to some of those temperatures as well. So still some of that warmth there. The sustained winds starting to flip around a little bit on us, also a little bit lighter, and some of the stronger winds enhanced are now off to the east too. Now, what about that cloud deck and the clouds that tried to get into some of the clearing? Well, with the winds that have been active across the lakes, across Lake Huron, still, this is lake effect stuff, so some light sprinkles or even a few wet flurries in here with some of those spots dealing with some drizzle. So that's still going to be in play towards London. Early evenings, too, the risk kind of between Goderich and Sarnia. But once we get into the latter evening and overnight hours, that's when we will begin to see some improvement. So a lot of cloud cover to begin, and then getting more and more clearing as we head on through. As for the busiest travel day across the U.S., we know what happened at the border crossing, but in terms of weather conditions, that Maine system really pushing off now, and it's just kind of towards Maine where they're still dealing with some travel concerns there and mixed precipitation. Otherwise, it's off into our Atlantic provinces. So coming back in for a closer look and rolling you now through the models and that cloud cover as it becomes more variable through the overnight. And then I'm putting a lot of sun in the forecast for tomorrow, a bit of cloud cover tomorrow night. And then we should have a decent amount of sunshine too as we're going through Friday. So a couple of days where first day temperatures are still okay. Second day they start to dip a little bit, but you get the sun all around. So there'll be lots to appreciate in that sense. Our temperatures overnight tonight, anywhere from 0 to -2 to -1, London to Sarnia. So in those areas, we'll talk more about there being this wind chill to contend with. So a little bit cooler tomorrow morning than what it was this morning. Thursday looking good up to that 8 degrees, but -4 Thursday night. Friday, barely getting above freezing, -6. A cool start on Saturday, and then even a chance of flurries, Meg, coming in as we go into Sunday.
That looks like hat and mitt weather. Thanks so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
Countries from around the world came together to compete in the trashiest sport on the planet. More on that coming up. They've been installed in plenty of retail stores across Canada, but self-checkout lanes aren't always getting a warm reception from shoppers. Now, some businesses are choosing to remove them. Sophia Harris has more on that.
This Canadian Tire in North Bay, Ontario, is bucking a big box store trend. In July, it opened more cashier lanes and ditched its self-checkouts.
It just felt like it was time to get rid of them.
The store's general manager says the machines just weren't a good fit.
Canadian Tires carry so many big products, whether it's snow blowers, gazebos, generators, don't really lend themselves to self-checkouts.
Many customers seem to agree.
I'm happy to see that their self-checkouts are gone. I prefer this just because I like the contact with person to person.
Several other stores have also recently removed their self-checkouts, including this Toronto area Canadian Tire and 3 Walmarts in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Never mind.
And Booth's supermarket chain in England is phasing out the machines in nearly all of its stores.
They've complained before when we did have the self-service checkouts that they didn't like them, so I think they like the one-to-one bit of it and being able to talk to a person.
This shopper has another reason.
The main thing is the jobs for young people in the future. Computers are taking away too many jobs.
Self-checkout started gaining prominence about a decade ago, a way for retailers to cut labor costs and speed up the checkout process. But some problems have persisted.
A lot of people resented the move to self-checkout, feeling like they're told to do their own work.
There are also technical hurdles, like figuring out how to scan produce with no barcodes. And then there's the downside risk.
The theft is a big issue, and it's just that there's so many ways you can game the system.
A new survey polled 2,000 American shoppers. 15% admitted to stealing at self-checkout. 21% said they've accidentally taken an item without scanning it.
That's an awful lot of people who are walking away from self-checkout without paying for stuff that they should be paying for.
But this analyst says there's good reason why self-checkout isn't going away. It's popular with many shoppers, including some at this big box strip mall.
I love it. It's very effective, and it just lets me just do my thing.
It's just really convenient for people such as myself and others that are just quickly on the go and know exactly what they need.
So the self-checkout debate continues, with both customers and stores taking sides. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
It's considered the trashiest sport ever, and no, it's not because of the trash talk. Players from 21 countries took part in the Spagomi World Cup in Tokyo. Spagomi is a combination of the Japanese words for sport and trash. In the game, teams of 3 have 90 minutes to comb the streets and public spaces in a race to pick up the most litter. They're awarded points for the amount and type of trash they collect. This year, the United Kingdom took top spot, collecting nearly 60 kilograms of rubbish. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.